Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo, and this is $3 Theater, and today we're going to be talking about Ghostbusters again. No, not the 2016 shitheel of a film, which does kind of come up a little bit, but ultimately that's not the focus of this. So, Ivan Reitman gave an interview with Gizmodo about the future of Ghostbusters, what Ghost Corps is kind of intending on doing. They didn't go into a lot of details, but we knew this going into the 2016 reboot that Ivan Reitman was running Ghost Corps, a company within Sony, to build out the franchise of Ghostbusters in the modern age, right? The two sequels are 30 years and almost 30 years old, and the new movie was meant to kind of be a relaunching of the brand. It didn't really go that way, and with good reason. It was a bad movie. And so in the interview, Ivan Reitman, this is what he says in regards to the flop that was Ghostbusters 2016. He says, "We certainly would have loved to have a larger hit, but considering the last film was almost 30 years ago, it did extremely well. I think the film cost too much, frankly, and that's the real issue. I personally had other points of view in terms of where the film should go, and it was kind of a continuous conversation with Paul Feig about that. But Paul was the filmmaker on this one, and he's a very talented director. I wanted to give him enough room to do the film he thought it should be." Okay, let's unpack that here for a second. So the movie cost too much money. I think the overall budget was about 152 million or 144 million, somewhere in there. They shot the movie in Boston, masquerading it as New York, which you could tell that it was not New York because it didn't have any of the personality of the city. And it had a huge CG budget. And that was the thing. The first two Ghostbusters movies were very practical in their effects. People liked that. But this one, they really wanted it to go big. You know, Amy Pascal greenlit $150 million. The movie didn't need to be $150 million. It didn't even look like it cost $150 million. So it makes you wonder where the money went. According to Paul Feig, the money actually went to like Ivan Reitman and Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, those who actually have stock in the film, which could be a reason why the budget was so high and the movie didn't look as good. But ultimately, that still doesn't really make up for the fact that the final product was a load of malarkey. Now, when he says here that he had other points of view in terms of where the film should go, that's actually true. We know through the WikiLeaks emails from the Sony hack in 2014 that Amy Pascal essentially fucked over Ivan Reitman. Ivan wanted to do the sequel. They had a script. She fucked him over. She brought in Paul Feig after asking him a couple times. She basically let him do whatever he wanted and kept Ivan out of it. Like, we know there's emails showing us that Amy Pascal legitimately kept Ivan from like lunches and meetings and everything else in order to keep him away from the project. And I think to shut him up, honestly, I think they gave him Ghost Corps as a way to keep it moving forward, to keep him working on the brand. But my favorite line here is this. "But Paul was the filmmaker on this one, and he's a very talented director. I wanted to give him enough room to do the film he thought it should be." Translation: I wanted to give him enough rope to hang himself. And that's effectively what he did. That is effectively what he did. This movie did not go over well with the fans, theatrically, worldwide, and home video. I mean, the extended cut is horrendous. It's actually worse than the theatrical, and I didn't think that was possible. But we know that Amy Pascal, as the head of Columbia Pictures, fucked over Ivan Reitman. She just screwed him. So when he says here, I wanted to give him enough room to do the film he thought it should be, read between the lines. He wanted to give him enough rope to hang himself. And once the negative backlash began, I'm pretty sure Ivan Reitman just kind of sat back and went like, yeah, all right, you guys enjoy this. I'm going to be here working on the franchise once your little failed experiment goes away. And that's effectively what he's doing. He still has hope for the franchise going forward. Ghostbusters 2, in terms of a sequel to last year's movie, is not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It didn't gross enough money. But they are looking at rebooting it, probably, and that's going to go with the animated film that they are working on. because he says here, we jumped into an animated film and we are developing live action films. I want to bring all these stories together as a universe that makes sense within itself. Part of my job right now is to do that. Okay, so that's interesting. They want to, and this might be an interesting take on it, they want to have an animated film tie into the real world cinematic universe. And I talked about this a couple years ago on my main channel. Dan Aykroyd had made comments about wanting a Ghostbusters cinematic universe, one that would in fact be like maybe a TV series, like or movies or books or whatever else. And they are kind of doing that with the new Ghostbusters comic book that comes out this week, I believe, and it's one that I'm going to read and review on the main channel because I want to mock it. But basically that one, if you're unfamiliar, is the new Ghostbusters, right? The four female Ghostbusters end up opening a vortex and taking them back into an alternate reality, also, or an alternate universe in 1980 New York, where they meet the original Ghostbusters and they go on a ghost-busting adventure. So it's a short series. I think it's only like 6 issues. And they're probably using that as a way to kind of test the market to see if that might be a storyline going forward. If you want my honest opinion, that is probably what's going to happen. All right. That's probably what they're going to try to do, because they need to find a way to salvage what they've already spent $150 million on. And they don't want to do a direct sequel because the first movie didn't do enough money to warrant it. And they probably want to think, okay, how can we bank on nostalgia in order to bring this back in? And that's going to be mixing the two together. So effectively, they're crossing the streams for both franchises. We'll have to see what happens with that. I don't have high hopes, but I will fully admit that even though I said my intent is to essentially kind of mock it, I will read it and hope that I'm entertained, just as I hoped I was entertained last summer when I went to the early preview screening of Ghostbusters. I hoped for the best. Oh God, I still got the worst. But I have faith that Reitman is gonna right the ship. I have faith that he's gonna do the right thing here, because now Amy Pascal is no longer involved. His job is to develop the franchise again and to take it where fans and hopefully critics will come to an agreement on, and it won't be gender-based pandering. There won't be claims of sexism if you didn't like the trailer. There won't be all the doubling down from the director and the cast, and they won't be playing that game of identity politics, which ultimately killed what was already a pretty bad movie. So hopefully they'll get it right. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that the Ghostbusters animated movie, whatever it is they want to do, might be good with Ivan Reitman kind of at the helm of the project, maybe not directing it? They said 1919, 1920, somewhere in there. Do you think we're ever going to get more Ghostbusters movies, or is the franchise just kind of floundering and is going to be locked back in a drawer for 30 more years? These are things I want to know. Go ahead and write them down in the comments. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. You've been listening to 3 Buck Theater. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. True, definitely subscribe, because I post new content all the time. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one, and peace out.